Hi, and welcome back to a very special breakfast edition of Quarantined in the Kitchen. I'm Avery, and today we're making my favorite breakfast of all time, pancakes. To get started on the pancakes, the first thing you're going to want to do is melt 3 tablespoons of butter, and I've gone ahead and done it a little bit ahead of time just so that it's melted, but it's not hot anymore. I've used the same skillet that I'm going to make the pancakes in. While the butter's doing its thing and cooling down, we're going to sift our dry ingredients together. In this bowl, I have 1.5 cups of flour, 3 tablespoons of sugar, a teaspoon and 3/4 of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You can use any kind of flour you'd like. Buckwheat flour is really good in pancakes. And go ahead and give that a little shake once they're all in there to get them sifted. Pat the last few ingredients, and if there's a couple of stragglers that don't want to go through, I like to give them one whisk with a whisk. I like to give them a mix with a whisk, just to make sure everything's incorporated. Now I can set my dry ingredients aside for a minute. For my wet ingredients, I've gone ahead and measured them just into this little liquid measuring cup. In here is 1.25 cup of milk. We're gonna use 2 eggs in today's pancake recipe, and I am gonna separate the whites from the yolks and give the whites a good beating. So go ahead and crack your eggs one at a time into a large bowl, but we're gonna separate the yolk out and put the yolk with the milk. Go ahead, crack your egg on the side. Careful to break it in half, so you've got 2 little half eggshells, and then carefully transfer the yolk back and forth, kind of letting the white fall off. And you do want to try to get as much of the white off as possible, and then just pop it into the milk. Repeat with the next one. Break your egg in half, let it fall off, carefully slide it back and forth. And my eggs have been sitting out at room temperature for about 30 minutes, and this actually helps separate them. So I would say, if you have the time, set them out a little bit ahead. In here we've got our egg yolks, our milk, and we're now gonna add the butter. Go ahead and use a fork to mix up those egg yolks. We don't wanna use the same whisk that we're gonna use for our egg whites, because if we get any fat into that egg white, it won't whip nicely. And then go ahead and use a spatula and scrape the cooled butter from your skillet into that mixture. It's really important that your milk is cold when you add this butter, and it's also important that the butter's not too hot, because you do want these butter chunks to form, and when we incorporate those into the pancake batter, they're gonna create these little pockets of butter when the pancake's cooking that are just gonna melt when it's cooking, and it's gonna make the pancake really delicious. So give that a stir. Now it's time to beat these egg whites. So I like to use a big bowl, so I have a lot of room, and there's a couple ways that you can go about and do this. You could just start going like this. I kind of like to hold it at an angle so that my eggs are kind of pooling in the bottom, and I give it like a light little whisk with my wrist. When you get tired, you can start going the opposite direction. I've heard that if you hold it like you're doing this, that's less work for your arm. You could also do it like this, which is kind of like the least amount of work possible, but it can get a little messy. Like you're kind of trying to start a fire with like 2 sticks. So just keep going on this. This way I just learned. They did not teach me this in culinary school, which I thought was pretty surprising, because this seems so much more efficient. And all I'm doing is going back and forth, and I'm using both arms, so I'm giving my left arm like a little bit of action too. So every so often we do want to check how it's going, and right now they're still super liquidy. We want them to get to the point that they are becoming more opaque white. Oh gosh, a hair. You'll see that they're starting to create little lumps when I pick it up, but it's still liquidy. But we're almost there. When the egg white splashes on the side and it holds its shape, or you can kind of see the strokes of the whisk as you're doing this, you know that it's starting to get stiffer. I'm gonna say 10 more seconds. So when I lift it up, it leaves a nice pile behind. We can see that it's got a good hold. So go ahead and knock all that egg white back into your bowl, and now it's time to get all our ingredients combined. Let's go back to our dry ingredients, and we're gonna add our wet ingredients first, and the egg whites last. We're gonna go ahead and pour this right in, and now I'm gonna lightly fold, kind of by sticking my spatula in and pulling it up, the wet and the dry together. It's okay if you have a little bit of lumps in pancake batter. Actually, you want that, because you don't want to overwork the batter. It's going to make the pancakes chewier. So when it's kind of 3/4 mixed, there's still some visible flour here and there. You can kind of see inside. We're going to go ahead and start adding our egg whites, and I'm going to do it in 2 batches. So we'll put in half, and again, Really careful now, even more than ever, because we don't want to break up all that egg white that we just worked so hard on. We're kind of folding in, turning, doing these kind of lazy fold motions, scraping the side every once in a while. And once you see that egg white's mostly gone, get the rest of the egg whites in there, fold these last egg whites in. So here and there are a couple egg white chunks, but I'm gonna stop. I don't wanna overwork it. Now it's time to get our skillet nice and hot and get pancaking. While we wait for this to get hot, you're gonna wanna test it with a little bit of water to see if it's ready to go. But I have right here just a little bit of butter, and I have a silicone spatula that I like to just help apply the butter to the pan a little bit easier. I'm gonna put my pancakes into the pan today using a disher. This is kind of like a giant ice cream scoop. So if you do have an ice cream scoop, that works great too. But if you had like a quarter cup measuring cup or, a ladle, that would work great too. I think my skillet is done heating up, and to test it, I've got just like a teeny drop of water in here. I'm just gonna drop it in the middle, and we want it to start dancing. So this was kind of like bubbling. I wouldn't call it dancing. Dancing is like you throw it on and it immediately starts like everywhere. So it's pretty much almost there. There you go, that looks like a dance. We always want to start with a test pancake. Let's get a little bit of butter on our skillet. We want it to sizzle up pretty quick, but not start smoking, and that's also a good sign that it's nice and warm. And we'll do one right in the middle. Ooh. So don't do anything, just let it spread out. So we're gonna use this test pancake to see, from beginning to end without changing the temperature, is this a good temperature? Right now, it's been about 30 seconds in the pan. It's starting to bubble up. The bubbles are coming to the surface, but they're filling in with batter. So we wanna keep an eye for when the bubbles start to pop, but they don't fill in with the batter so quickly. And that's when we're gonna go ahead and start to flip them. Have your spatula ready. The outer ring of bubbles aren't filling in when they pop. I'm gonna do a little peek under the side. Oh, it looks perfect. I'm gonna go in there and give it a flip. Wow, that looks so good. They look lacy. It's a nice golden brown. It's an even color all the way around. Oh, they smell delicious. They smell like butter. I'm excited. This side's gonna be pretty quick. I'm just gonna give little pats with my finger, and you can feel that if it's bouncing back, then it's done cooking. If it squishes, then it's not. But I'm gonna give it maybe a full minute on this side, and that's it. This might seem like a lot of pancakes. This is gonna serve about 3 to 4 people, but you don't have to cut it in half, and I actually like to keep the recipe full. If you have extras, you can always freeze them, and they're really easy to reheat in a toaster, under the broiler, or in the oven, or even on a skillet for a second. So I'm just gonna collect all my pancakes on a plate, and at the end, I'll eat them, or freeze them, whatever's left over. Although we will eat the tester. Ooh, look at both sides. They look perfect. Ooh. So light and fluffy, moist. Wow, so good. Time to go ahead into the next. Get your butter, paint your skillet. I think we'll try to fit 3 on here this time. 1. So I can tell it got a little hotter, the skillet. It feels like the butter's browning a little bit, and it really quickly started to sizzle. So keep an eye on these, and we'll flip them in a minute. Just gonna finish this one while we're waiting. If you wanted to add some fruit or nuts or anything fun into your pancakes, I like to add them at this stage. When they're about 50% cooked on their first side, the bubbles are forming, but they're still kind of filling up a little bit, but they do have a good form. So let's get back in the skillet. We've got lots of bubbles. They haven't popped yet, but they look like they're about to pop. And you can see these little pockets of butter that were solidified in the batter are now melting into the pancake as it cooks. And all the egg whites are like giving it structure so that it can melt in there but not like get lost in the pan. So I think we're ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and flip them. Oh, that looks good. Okay, so it's a little darker. Oh gosh, this one's like a, okay, that happened. Okay, not my best flipping, all things considered. Whatever. These are looking a little interesting. This one's definitely got some character, but this one looks perfect. She's done. Also another interesting one. But they're done. Butter it up. I love pancakes. Some fun ways that you can riff on this recipe: more or less milk would kind of change the texture. If you like your pancakes thicker, maybe more diner or like breakfast house or like Waffle House style, then use a little bit less milk. I think that 1 cup would be perfect. Just want to eat these other ones while we wait. All right, so we got bubbles going. We have structure. We have a little pocket of egg white right here that's just gonna stay egg white. So I might just like try and cut that out because I think that's kind of weird. It's time to get in here and we are gonna do a better job this time. If they're stuck together, kind of break them apart. Give yourself some room. Like this one is going there and these other ones need to get out of the way. Okay, now let's move so it's better. I think I was trying to like, okay, she did it. Okay, let's do it again. Let's move to the angles right. Okay. Woo! Perfect. I actually love when the batter splatters a little bit because then it crisps up. It crisps up in like a lacy, crunchy way. That's really nice to eat. Oh, I can literally see the hot melting butter come out at the top of them. Woo! They are going to be so delicious. So like 30 seconds to a minute on this other side. Like I said, giving them little pokes. If they're thicker pancakes, they're gonna need a little bit more time. Perfect. I like to check them before I take them off. Same color as the other side. These are looking amazing. Buttered up. Let's say you wanted to make these dairy-free. Not egg-free, but dairy-free. You could use oat milk, soy milk, almond milk, any of those nut or alternative milks. Just note that some of them do change when they bake and the texture might vary from milk to milk. Oat and soy milk, they actually get kind of viscous and thick when they bake. So sometimes like oat milk, like Oatly pancakes can be a little chewy, not in a bad way, but in kind of like a different way that you weren't expecting. And then if you didn't want to use butter, you could use coconut oil. Just warm it up enough so that it's liquid and then get it into some really cold milk so that it gets nice and solidifies. I think you can recreate the same thing with the butter with the coconut oil. Now, if you're trying to do this egg-free, it really wouldn't work. I would say this is the recipe that we're gonna do the eggs in, and maybe next time we'll try something that's vegan. They're looking bubbly and good. So I'm taking it back a little bit. I'm flipping them a little bit before they are just like all popped and open. I think if we did that, they would get too dark on one side and they would kind of dry out. I'm really taking to the point where there are a lot of surface bubbles that are just held. Like they're not popping, they're not going anywhere. Over 50% or more of the surface is just bubbles. I think it's time to go ahead. Again, we are gonna do this. Yes, we got this. One more time. Ooh, a little on top of that one, but it's okay. Super important, once you flip, don't touch for a minute. They are rising, the baking powder is doing its thing, the egg whites are holding it up, the butter is melting. So just let them cook for at least 30 seconds undisturbed before you start looking to see if they're done on that other side. Pancake day at my house, we're eating them as they come out. So I take 3 out, serve them, make 3 more. And when I'm full and I've eaten 20 pancakes, then I'll start saving whatever's left over. So these are good. On to the next. It's a big batch, as you can see, and since I'm making them this size, I'm getting a lot of them. But now I have pancakes prepared for me for like a couple days. Or if I want like a complete breakfast with like eggs and pancakes and cereal and orange juice, it's like really easy. You can just grab the pancakes from the freezer. As you get to the bottom of your batter, you might notice that the texture changes a little bit. And this is why it's important that we didn't overwork the dough too much at the beginning. It might start to get less fluffy looking, and that's okay. We've been in and out of that bowl for a while now. Ooh, the butter. And for these last few, I think I'm gonna experiment. I've got a couple strawberries left over in my fridge, so I'm gonna slice them up really quick and throw them in. Just doing a rough slice on some strawberries over here. Let's get these out of here. We have maybe 1 more pancake after these 3. You can really see that right at the beginning they are runny, they're kind of melting together, but they're still gonna be delicious. I've got some strawberries that I sliced right here, and I'm just waiting till they get to a point where I can see bubbles everywhere, but they're not ready to be flipped yet. All right, so I can see bubbles underneath the surface pretty much all over. So I'm gonna start placing my strawberries. You do want to give them some room around each other, so these are kind of close, but I don't want to mess around with the batter too much. And again, you know, once they're bubbly and, you know, easily moving around, it's time to flip them. So give them about a full minute on this side, and we'll see how they're going. Might be a little bit of raw dough mixed between the strawberries, which is why we want to get these a little longer. So I'm going to start using my spatula to kind of like ease in there and see what's going on. Ooh, they look good. I'm gonna give them just a little bit longer to hopefully get some more color on the strawberry. Ooh, nice. Strawberries got a little bit of color on them, so they'll be nice and like caramelly tasting. Ooh, nice, beautiful. And the last one, let's get our butter on. Let's just scrape this all in there. Trying to do a crepe, you wanna start in the middle and just like keep moving your, this isn't gonna work as a crepe. We're just gonna, maybe we could try with our brush. Okay, that could work. This is an experiment. This is not how you make crepes. Start inching your spatula around the edge. Kind of release it, but we're not trying to pick it up yet. Just kind of seeing what's happening. When you feel it starting to release, you can start to put your spatula through more. Don't force it. And then we do want to give it one quick flip. Ooh, that looks like a crepe. I'm gonna give it a little brush of butter because why not? That sounds good. A little sugar, and then fold it in half and fold it in a quarter. And then you can kind of let it finish cooking for a minute on this side and then flip it. You can put Nutella, you can put jelly in between your crepe. I'm starving, clearly. So it's time to eat. Time to dig in. I've got some strawberry pancakes here, a plain pancake here, some real Vermont maple syrup. I don't do any of those table syrups. Drizzle it on. I don't think we need any butter on here because there's like at least 4 tablespoons in the entire thing. I can't wait any longer. It's time to eat. Wow. They're super light. They're cakey. They're fluffy. They're sweet. Let's try the other one. They suck up all that maple syrup, but they don't get wet. These are so good. I know everyone's made pancakes in their life, but there are a lot of recipes out there and a lot of different ways to do them. I think that this is the best pancake recipe I've ever tried, and believe me, I have tried a lot of them. I hope that you like it. Send me a pic of your stack of pancakes, flapjacks, griddle cakes. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Quarantined in the Kitchen. We'll be back soon. Let me know what you want to see. See you later. You can go now. Thank you. Bye.